Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Whitney and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Tennille.
And I'm Whitney, and today we are here with yet another catch-up film. We are all the way back in the year...
Not a mustard film, a ketchup film.
Hey, yes, we're back in the year 1953, and we watched another stop-motion Czechoslovakian film.
Always good to see them return.
And this was A Treasure of Bird Island.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film, I want to say straight off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's very slow-paced, it takes its time, it's a fairy tale, but the visualization style and the sense of humor, especially when we get into the second half of the movie, is really good. So as long as you're in for, like, a chill time, just enjoying a movie, like, this is a really good one.
Absolutely. It feels, in that way, very similar to a lot of the other stop-motion Czech films we've watched. I also want to say thank you to Michael Ray for finding this movie and finding the subtitles we could put on it.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you so much. I specifically want to talk about the eye animation.
Yeah, this was very expressive, which hasn't really been a thing in some of the other.
Yeah, it's very expressive for a stop-motion film, especially from 1953. Like, the eyes really move a lot. You can really feel the characters think and react to things with more than just body motion. Because, of course, there's the good body motion and posing and language and stuff like that. But, like, the eyes...
Yeah, they really worked on getting some very expressive facial animation done, and it looks great. Like, normally trying to add facial animation to puppets like this can kind of look choppy, but this looked really smooth.
Absolutely.
And not that smoothness is like a quality of... like, indicative of quality animation or anything. It's just that, like, it feels very natural.
Yes, for sure.
Another thing I wanted to point out, since we're talking about animation, is that they also managed to get some really impressive squash and stretch on some characters, and the legs.
Especially the legs, yeah. Sometimes when characters are walking, they just got this awesome jaunt, which, like, stretches their legs, and it looks crazy.
Well, yeah, it looks fantastic. There was quite a few things where this movie was merging multiple, like, media, like, multimedia assets. Like, it was going for a very, like, flat style, but still using the puppets. And so, like, a lot of the props and sets would be flat.
Yeah, they would look like flat paper craft. But the models are all... or, like, the puppets themselves are 3D objects.
Right. Which is obviously definitely a, like, intentional choice, but the story that this is based on is a Persian fairy tale, so the look they were specifically trying to imitate is that of Persian miniature reliefs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And I think it went pretty well. So how about a plot synopsis?
Sure.
So, the movie starts with a bunch of birds flying south for winter. Specifically, they fly out over the ocean and go to Bird Island.
Yeah.
Which only has birds in the winter. And when they get there, they meet a boy who...
is a fisherman.
He's a fisherman, and he loves the birds more than pretty much anyone else on the island.
Most of this story is narrated by the fisherman.
Yes, because most of the story is the boy actually telling the birds what happened over the last year.
Yeah.
And so he does. He tells them what happened after they left.
It's not really a necessary framing device, but it's cute. It works.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a fisherman, just working day in, day out. Everybody just kind of chilling. The only bird that stays on the island is a pelican. He's kind of rascally and kind of the hero of the story, if you think about it.
He's an animal sidekick character.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. One day, while he's out fishing, he sees a very fancy boat go by with a prince on it, just laying there, listening to music, eating grapes.
Basking in the sun.
Not a care in the world, not having to do anything because he's rich. And so the fisherman is like, oh,
I want that.
I want that. I don't want to fish every day. So he stops fishing.
Working sucks.
Yeah, working sucks. So instead, I'm just going to get rich and not work. So he decides how he's going to do that is he's going to find a treasure on Bird Island.
Whoa, it's the name of the movie.
Yeah. So the first thing he attempts is he decides he's going to dive for pearls.
Yeah.
This goes poorly for him.
He nearly dies.
He nearly dies multiple times over the course of like 3 days as he keeps attempting to do this.
Well, and he's not fishing, so he has no food.
Yeah, he
and nothing to sell.
Yeah, nothing to trade, nothing to barter, so he kind of goes without food or he steals food.
Scandalous.
From some of the other people on the island. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he's like, well, this just doesn't work. So he gives up and goes back to fishing. And then there's a terrible storm that wrecks his ship. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't wreck just only his ship. He actually picks up a castaway from some other wrecked ship. And it turns out this is some dread pirate.
Yes.
But he's...
So automatically made the movie 10 times better because there's a pirate involved.
You love pirates.
I do.
So he nurses the pirate back to health, and the pirate's like, thank you for saving me. I think I'm still gonna die, so here's my treasure map. Uh-huh. I buried a bunch of treasure on this island. And so the fisherman's like, treasure? Not having to work? Sounds great.
That's exactly what I wanted.
That's what I want. So he tells his 2 best friends, who are like in a secret pact, to go get it together. Unfortunately, someone else overhears them, who then tells someone else, who tells someone else, who tells someone else, who tells... The whole town knows.
Great sequence of just like everybody listening in and then telling each other. Like the whole town knows. It's so like these 3 go off up into the mountain to like find the treasure, and the whole town is following them.
Yeah. So the whole town works together. They excavate the spot and find oodles of treasure. Mm-hmm. And then people start fighting, but then the oldest, wisest member of the town is like, hey, what if we just split it evenly because we all worked together to get this?
Yes.
So they take it back to town and lock it in the...
They call it like a fort.
Yeah, the fort. That's what I was going to say. Uh-huh. They lock it in a fort where the 3 most trustworthy people will work together to divide the treasure evenly among everyone in the town.
Ah, see, but here's the problem.
Everyone is like, yes, I'm about to be rich and I don't have to work anymore, so everyone stops working.
Yeah.
Which means there is no bread, there is no fish, there are no shoes, there is no iron. No one's doing any of their work, so everyone's starving and nothing's getting done.
Yes.
The fisherman sees, oh, this is my fault.
This is bad, actually.
This is bad.
See, and this is where I'm like, man, just put the funds together. Y'all keep your jobs, but, like, find ways to, like, help out the community so that everybody, like... Benefits from it.
Oh, absolutely.
But nah.
No. So, the fisherman goes back to the pirate, who is now feeling better, and says, hey, you should take all this treasure away. And the pirate's like, I was already planning to do that. Let's go.
I am a pirate, and turns out I'm alive.
So I want my treasure back.
Yeah.
So he goes, he gets all the treasure, puts it on a little boat, takes it away. The villagers find out, they chase him, and as he's frantically trying to row away, the boat tips over and all the treasure falls into the ocean.
Oh.
And so
it's a predictable outcome, but, you know, it's poetic.
So the villagers are all, woe is us.
Guess we gotta go back to our jobs now.
I guess we'll go back to working.
Yeah.
And then they just all get back to their daily lives and everyone's just kind of content again.
Well, it kind of ends on the moral of, like, we discovered the real treasure.
The real treasure wasn't treasure, but our community and working together.
Yeah, it is specifically about, like, how...
Mutual work and cooperation is the ideal way to live your life.
Yeah, well, and how when they were all kind of blinded by gold.
And greed.
How everybody turned on each other so quickly.
Yeah, they constantly were like, you're going to steal my treasure, or I'm going to kill you because I want the treasure, and things like that. But, like, the moment that's out of their lives again, they all just are peaceful and working together again.
Right, and the community can repair itself.
Mm-hmm. So, like, that's definitely the intent of the movie, is just, like, rich people suck. Eat the rich. And work together.
I don't know that's really the message.
No, but the message
it is a message about community and hard work.
Working together as a group. Mm-hmm. Everyone, yes, has different jobs that they're good at. And if you all work together, you can just live happy lives without a pile of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a very nice movie. It's interspersed with a lot of, like, subtle, fun comedy moments.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. The pelican comes back in particular is, like...
multiple times and is always nice and helpful.
Yeah. Yeah,
even though he's
a buddy with the fisherman.
Mm-hmm. He's introduced to be kind of like a little trickster in the beginning of, like, stealing all the fish from the fishermen. But, like, in the end, he's just kind of nice and helpful.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this was directed by Carl Zeman. Apologies on name pronunciation, as always. Like I said before, this style of the film was based on Persian miniature reliefs, and the story itself is a Persian fairy tale. I didn't see anything that said exactly what fairy tale this was, so I'm unsure about that. It might be a close adaptation of the source. It might be, you know, a mishmash of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say? Because I can't. I don't have knowledge of Persian fairy tales. But this director, after making this film, is actually going to go on to have a pretty, you know, success in the relative terms, career with 6 more films that he's about to make, where he's combining live action and animation.
Okay.
And I don't know if any of those other films are going to be part of our watch list.
Probably not, because I don't think we've watched any like that.
Yeah, I know.
And if this is 1953, we probably would have watched them by 1982, which is where we are in our current point.
Yeah. So I don't think we're watching any of his other films, which is too bad, because he's actually considered quite a influential animator. Tim Burton, Ray Harryhausen, another Czechoslovakian animator, John Svankmajer.
Sure.
Again, sorry about the pronunciation. All credit him as inspiring their own visual styles in animation.
I could see that.
And Terry Gilliam of Monty Python fame also lists him as an influence.
Awesome.
Yeah. And in a event dedicated to, like, his legacy multiple years after he died, this is an uncredited quote. I don't know who said this, unfortunately, but it said that although his influence outweighs his global fame, he is unarguably one of the greatest animators of all time. Which I thought was just like...
cool. How did we miss him?
Well, I mean, I don't know that a lot of his work just really kind of fell into what we cover besides this. And then even getting this was...
difficult to get our hands on.
Right. And it kind of sounds like even though he's extremely influential, he's not necessarily super well known outside of his own country.
Yeah.
Except for, you know, obviously people who take interest in animation.
And stop motion specifically, yeah.
Right. So yeah, I am really glad that we got to see some of his work.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe sometime down the line, Whitney and I will
try to
see some of his other films. But in the meantime, this was great. And if this isn't even a film that's listed as one of his greats. This is just like something he did before he did those.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really enjoyed this one, and I would love to see what he went on to do from here.
Absolutely. Well, with that being done, we're going to move on to our next catch-up film. Mm-hmm. And we are going forward up to 1969.
Nice.
And we're going to watch De Conference der Tiere, also known as The Conference of Animals, from Germany.
All right. Cool.
So let's go watch that one.
Yeah, see you then.